Now next is your post-Maurya, right? Post-Maurya mein in UPSC you have not got any question apart from one question. That is also not directly from post-Maurya, but it is related to post-Maurya. That means that in your national calendar, which date has been taken, right? Now that has been taken by what? Saka Era. That is basically nothing but the ascension of Kushana, or the Kanishka king, 78 AD. So when he got into that throne, from that time the new era has started. That is called as Saka Era, where the March 21 becomes your first day, or March 22 if it is a leap year, as the day will change as per your understanding whether it is a leap year or non-leap year. So that has been considered as our national calendar. We have not Gregorian calendar, but we have taken the Saka Era timeline. That is the first day as the national calendar. So that is related to Kanishka. That is why that is one question they have asked. Other than that, the question has been asked in mostly in the culture, right? For example, during the post-Maurya time, what has happened is, what is the major thing that has happened during post-Maurya period? Who are the different kings? First we will look at the question. The Chaitra, the national calendar based on Saka Era, correspond to which one of the following date of the Gregorian calendar in the normal year of 365 days? Right, leap year if it is 22 March, normal year means it is 21st March. Is that 21st, 22nd March or 21st March? That's what I told you. It is depending upon whether it is a leap year or non-leap year. So this will be your answer. So right. So that is one. Then in 2011 they had asked one question, that is which was the capital of Kanishka, right? What was the capital of Kanishka? Kanishkapura, Sakal or Sialkot, then Purushapura or Peshwar, then Jalandhar. What is the capital of Kanishka? Purushapura, right? He has been had this as capital. This is Kanishkapura. It is a city in the Kashmir founded by Kanishka, but he has not made this as his capital. He has just founded by the Kanishka. So the broader understanding is that, right? Then this is again as I told you, this you can put it under this, or you can put it under Kalidasa also, that is Gupta period also, right? What is the question? Which one of the following books of ancient India has a love story of the son of the founder of the Shunga dynasty? Who is the founder of the Shunga dynasty? Pushyamitra Shunga. His son is Agnimitra, right? So the Kalidasa has written a book called Love Story of Malavika Agnimitra. Malavika Agnimitra. So Malavika Agnimitra is basically a love story of Agnimitra, who was the king. But if you are considering this under the Kalidasa book, then it is a question there. Just as since I did not have many questions here, I just put it here, right? Otherwise, it is not related to directly about the Shunga dynasty as per the history wise. It is about the Gupta dynasty of the Kalidasa, right? So now the book is Swapna Satavatnam, Malavika Agnimitra, Meghaduta, Ratnavali. Ratnavali is written by whom? Harshavardhana, right? Similarly, Meghaduta is again written by Kalidasa, but it is not related to this. The book is basically Malavika Agnimitra, right? Then this is basically from the CDS question, that is about what is the, consider the following statement related to pertaining to Satavahanas. One, Satavahana ruler were identified through matronymics. Matronymics means what? Their names used to come from their mother, right? That is Gautami Putra Shatrakarni. So that means that who is Putra? Gautami's Putra. So that means that he is getting his name from where? Mother. So that is correct, right? It has been told in the Nasik inscription, right? Next, their succession to the throne was generally patrilineal. That means that it is not that ladies used to become the king there, or looking after the kingdom. The king used to become his son only will become king, but his name used to be derived from his mother, right? So the kingdom getting into the throne, it is going through the patrilineal only. But however, when we are talking about the name wise, then it is metronymic. That is the answer. So the answer will be both 1 and 2 are correct, right? Which of the following is most important characteristic? Now again, as I told you, this kind of question is not being asked now, but you can just, again, this is also a CDS question you can go through. Expansion of Buddhism outside India, re-emergence of Jainism, 4th Buddhist Council at Srinagar, Gandhara School of Art, right? what is the most important characteristic of Kanishka rule, which has happened during that time only. Important means it has to be happened there only. Right? For example, if I am talking about expansion of Buddhism outside India, it has not happened during that time. During the Mauryas only it has started spreading, right? Because Ashoka sent his children only as Dharma Mahatas, right? So to spread the religion. So the outside India it has started during the Mauryas. It is not that is Kanishka has spent and it has been expanded like that, right? So re-emergence of Jainism did not happen at that point of time. Again, Gandhara school of art has started during Indo-Greeks and flourished during the Kanishka time. So it has flourished, but it is not something that has happened during that point. So what has happened during that time was the fourth Buddhist council at Kundalivana, that is near the Srinagar, right? So who was the head of it? It was presided by Vasumitra, right? So that you should be knowing about. So right, so he has written Mahavibhasha as a book. So in this fourth Buddhist council, why it is important? What happened during fourth Buddhist council? Mahayana Buddhism was emerged, right? Before there was only one part, so there was always fighting happening. In the fourth Buddhist council, there was two exact division has been happened within the Buddhism, that is Hinayana and Mahayana. Then once Mahayana came, deification of Buddha has started, Bodhisattva has started, emergence of Sanskrit language in the Buddhist scripture has started. All this has started after the emergence of the Mahayana Buddhism. This happened during the reign of the Kanishka. So that is important, that much. Right, again the notion of kinship, this is also CDS question. In UPSC there is only one question, that is, as I told you, two question you can think. The notion of kinship projected by the Kushana ruler is best evidenced through which of the following? Their identification with deities, right? What is the question here? Notion of kinship. They have a concept of divine kinship, that is, they have told that we are the son of the god, right? God has given the permission or suggested us to rule over you. Devi Putras. They have started calling themselves as Devi Putras, right? So that is basically their identification with the deities. One, grants to religious institution, inscriptional privileges, coin and sculpture. You can see that it is basically the identification with the deities. That is, what you can see with them, right? So that's it about, the post-Maurya period, right? So now if you look at the question in UPSC, they had asked two questions. That also not directly from the political history. So that means that you don't need to mug up all the political history as such. However, try to understand the chronology and the geographical extent where they were having, and what was their one important thing that you have to remember. For example, then we'll take a break. This will finish and then take a break, right? So for example, if I want to have post-Mauryas, first we can talk about, I will divide it into two parts, right? One, who are the kings who invaded India from the central India, who came from central India and made the kingdom here. Another were indigenous kingdoms, which are basically the Indian kingdoms only, right? So they came after the Mauryas. Now within the indigenous kingdom, if I want to consider, who has been finally defeated? Mauryas were defeated by whom? Shunga, right? That is Pushyamitra Shunga has defeated the last Maurya king, Brihadrata, right? So that has been taken over by the Pushyamitra Shunga, and then Shunga kingdom has started. Okay. Now with respect to Shunga kingdom, apart from Pushyamitra Shunga, Agni Shunga, Agnimitra was his son. The only known that is name for basically Malavika Agnimitra, that is what you are not supposed to know. Apart from that, Shunga dynasty, they patronized, the revival of Brahminism has happened. Along with that, they also patronized the Buddhism. Then, the Sanchi Stupa, Brahut Stupa, that are two stupas during the Maurya period. One was Sanchi Stupa, another is Bharat Stupa. Within that Sanchi Stupa is what? UNESCO site or UNESCO World Heritage site. So you should be knowing in depth about it. Here, they, renovated it and have some gateways to it. So like that, they have contributed in that. Only that much is important with respect to Shunga. Or, initially they also, contributed something for the Mathura school of art, right? That is, different sculpture arts are there, right? Buddha has been different sculptures in three types of art, right? One is basically Gandhara art, another is Mathura art, next Amravati art, right? Within these two are indigenous, that is happened within India. There is no, effect or the features that is related to the external. Gandhara, it is also having the Greek-Roman characteristic, Hellenistic feature with respect to Buddhism has been happened. So this basically started patronized, Mathura Art School of Art has been patronized by the Shunga initially. Only that much information with respect to Shunga that you are supposed to know. There is not much to tell about them, right? Then, the Shunga was defeated by Kanvas, right? Kanvas, right? Kanvas may again, you don't have any extra information that you are supposed to study. They were there for a very short period of time, right? These Kanvas were defeated later by Satavahanas. Now this becomes important because the re-emergence of Buddhism has happened. Then basically they have started the practice, that is from their mothers the name has come, that is one unique characteristic, and they have started giving grants to the Brahmanas and Agraharas. So that is Devadanas, Brahmadeya, these kind of grants has started coming. Then Buddhist site like Amaravati or Jogayapeta, these kind of sites were developed as during, and Amaravati School of Art also has been patronized by them. Along with that, you also have certain part, you can say that with respect to literature some contribution is there, and Satavahanas basically patronized the Prakrit language, right? And you have Hala, a king of the Satavahana, he has written Gatha Saptasati, right, in the Hala, right? So that is basically one thing you are supposed to know about, or you should know Gudanya's Brihat Katha, that also happened during the time of Satavahana. So they have contributed in that way that you are supposed to know about, right? Similarly, within Shunga, you should just know that during the Pushyamitra Shunga, who was his contemporary, as I told you, the Brahminism has revived. So that point of time, Sanskrit again started reviving, right? So that is Patanjali's Mahabhashya, right? Who was the contemporary of the king Pushyamitra Shunga. Only that much if you know, that would be more than sufficient, right? So then basically, after Satavahanas, you will have Ishkavakus or Ishwakus, that is again coming in the Andhra region. Finally, you have a Chedi kingdom or the Karavela kingdom, right? Where again here what you are supposed to know, in the Karavela kingdom again you should be knowing the Hathigumpa inscription, right? So that is where because it was more of again that Karavela, the king Karavela was basically a patronizer of what? Jainism, right? So once the Kalinga has been annexed by Mauryas, he again have that inscription which is near to Dauli only, to say that we came back, right? So in that Hathigumpa inscription he has spoken about. So Hathigumpa inscription becomes important from that perspective, right? So the administration of Karavela has happened. So that is about the local kingdom that you are supposed to know. There is not much contribution from the perspective. They are small kingdom. Only Satavahanas become important and some inscription becomes important, right? Similarly, here you should have Sakas, right? Then you will have you can start with Indo-Greeks also, right? Then you can have Sakas, then you can have Parthians, then you can have Kushanas. These four kingdoms become very, very important, right? Now, during the Indo-Greek, who becomes important? Meander becomes important, because during the Meander, because all that you have to think is from the cultural perspective, nothing else, right? What is the cultural contribution? That is Milindopana he has converted to Buddhism. Meander has been converted to Buddhism in a book called The Discussion between the Buddhist monk Nagasena and basically the Meander has happened, and that has been written in the book called Milindopana. So that is why that becomes important, right? And also you can have during Helidorus king, right? Indo-Greek king, where he has converted to Vaishnavism, which can be seen in the Besnagar pillar inscription or Vidisha pillar inscription. That becomes important. So whatever that is something, some inscription has happened, cultural significance has happened, only that much if you know, more than enough, right? Similarly, Sakas may what become important? Rudra Daman become important. Who is Rudra Daman? Rudra Daman one has, basically renovated Sudarshana Lake, which has basically constructed during the time of Chandragupta Maurya, and it has been renovated. That Sudarshana Lake was renovated by the the Rudradaman, who is also a king of the Saka era. Only that much if you know about him, that fits. So where it has been mentioned, it is mentioned in Junagadh inscription. So in that Junagadh inscription, one, the renovation of this thing is written. Second, it is the first long Sanskrit written inscription, right? So that is why that is also it becomes important. Before that you have a Brahmi script and all. Here it has been written in the Sanskrit language, right? So that is why it also becomes important. Only from Saka era that much is important, right? Now Parthians you don't have anything important. They were for a very short period of time. Only the Gondophares is a king that you are supposed to know. That is also for only one simple reason, that one of the the pupil of Jesus Christ, Saint Thomas, has visited India and he converted Godophares into Christianity. So the starting of Christianity, that has first time happened because of the Saint Thomas, right? So that happened during the period of Parthian, or the king was Gondophares. That much if you know, that become. But what is more important is Kushanas, because Kushanas there are many things that they have started, right? One of the important thing that you have to understand from them is basically issuing the gold coin, and then they have started becoming the Shaiva or Shivaka. Basically this thing also has been given in the king. So that means that the Vima, he has been converted himself to Shaivism. So that has been then the Kanishka, who has been got into the power in 78 AD, then Saka era has started. That is why he becomes important. His contribution with respect to Gandhara art. Here you have to study about a little about Gandhara art. And with respect to administration, two new things has come that you are supposed to know. That's it. What is that? One is basically the kind of stratego or satrap system. Right, during the Saka period it was there, satrap system, or it is in the Indo-Greek also it was there, called as stratego system. What is that? The provinces were used to be ruled by military commanders. One military commander, one province has to be given. So like that is called as a satrap system. Right, so those were basically administrative style, or later it has become Samanta system kind of thing in India also. The same thing you can observe, right? So that is basically happened during the Saka era, which has been taken inspiration from Indo-Greeks also. Like that you are supposed to have a broader understanding. Another is divine kinship. That is, the king is considered as basically the divine, that is, he is directly from the god given, that is Devi Putra. So that concept also basically came during their period. Then which of the religion that has come? Emergence of Buddhism has started during the Satavahanas, that you should have the broader understanding. Second, Bhagavatism, or that is, as I told you, Heliodorus pillar inscription or Besnagar pillar inscription. You can see the emergence of the Vaishnavism or Bhagavatism, that you can see, or Jainism by the Karavela, as I told you, that you have to see during the entire post-Mauryan period I am talking about, that you are supposed to see. And then revival of Brahminism through Brahmadeya and Devadana, that is the land grant system started by Satavahanas at the large, that you are supposed to know. Like that, just have the broader understanding, which one king, what he has done, not the minute terminology, what was the society is like, what was their administration, because they were they were very regional kingdom. They had a very small, only you should know time period, who came after whom, that you should be having a clarity about, and which region they were controlling about. So that only, within that how administration is there, like that 100 kingdom is there. Then if you start mugging up everything, then it will become very difficult. For them, cultural contribution, try to understand, not the administration. If the new system was introduced, like satrap system or the divine kinship, then you should know it. Not like regular way, right? So in that way, then literature contribution becomes very important, as I told you. So in that way, you are supposed to cover them. So in how we finish our Indo-Greeks, right? You are understanding this, right? So how it has the, first you see the question, what is the basic understanding they are asking? Don't yourself make yourself tiring of studying full ancient India. Try to see the changes. It was centralized. From the centralized administration from Mauryas to become many fragmented polity has happened. Different kingdom, different policies were there. So that means that the feudal system came in the Gupta period. The same thing later became the feudal system during the Gupta period. So see the changes, how it has happened in the society, that you have to observe rather than observing this, and the religion, how they were changing the equation with the different kingdom at the larger level. And their sculpture, as I told you, Gandhara art, Mathura art, Amaravati art, features of all of them becomes very, very important. Who patronized it, what material used to be there, and what is how Buddha was being shown in each of the different art forms becomes very, very important. Clear? Now, whatever that we discuss here, please go and revise that once, then and there only. So, you have a broader understanding. So, when we take the next class, basically, we will have that connectivity and start moving forward, right? So, Guptas also you have a broader understanding and come. So, when you are discussing, both of us can discuss, okay, this is been given, this we have to study. So, that becomes more of a dialogue kind of things, okay? So, in the next class, we will discuss Guptas, post-Guptas and Sangam, because post-Guptas is again only Vardhanas and small kingdoms. Along with that, some Rashtrakutas again that we will have in the medieval India, early medieval India, we will have it in the medieval India. Sangam age we will discuss in detail, right? In that way, we will finish our this thing, and also please go and revise the first video that has been put in the YouTube if you have not done that, so that you can finish what has to be studied, which book has to be studied, those things also has been discussed. You go through them once, and also what we are doing is basically we are also giving tests, okay? After every subject is getting over, we are giving one test based on the standard books only, how the questions are coming. I myself is basically, picking the question or doing the question basically and getting the answer. So, because of this, you have that realistic idea, what kind of question are coming, how you have prepared, right? So, in that way, for all the subject, we will have the tests. So, from now, in the second round, if you finish all this content first, by the month of October, your entire subject would have got over. And you give just 2 hours. Don't give too many hours, because 1 week, one subject has been covered. Ancient India, 1 week has been given. Medieval India, 1 week has been given. It is not that, more time has been given. So that what will happen is by the month of October or November, entire PYQ discussion from last 20 years, including CDS, CAPF, wherever not much question is available from UPSC, CDS, CAPF question is covered. Now, what will happen? You get that fair idea. You also start getting, only this much is there, how I have to prepare. That will increase your confidence also. Then keep giving the test also. So that in the second round, I can go to skill-based question, how to apply the skill, how to eliminate them, right? Because first, without knowledge, if you cannot eliminate, because then it becomes more like a, a random trick that might not work when your basics is not strong. When I apply the logic, it is not that I randomly apply the logic, right? I will basically think that, my basic is this, based on this basic, I am deriving that this cannot be answered, right? So, in that way, basically try to understand the basics first. Right. So, once you understand the basic, then we will go to that session. By that time when we go, at least if your basic are not covered, then that will not become that useful. Again, you will feel difficulty there. So, with your mains preparation, just give 2 hours, make sure that you become good at the things. So that when we cover the things, it will be helpful. Alright. Thank you.